Peace be upon you all. I hope everybody is doing well. This is the first time I'm going live on my channel, and this is a different type of podcast. I wanted to make a live stream in regards to certain conditions or certain situations that's going on in the world and how to view them from the lens of a Muslim or from the lens of Islam. I hope the quality and the audio is coming through correctly, or so you guys can hear everything well. Now, the live stream or this podcast is going to be called The State of the Community, because I will be discussing on what is apparent from a shallow and from a deeper level understanding of what's going on with the community. Because you could see, as people who claim to be Muslims, it's not really going in their favor for the last 100, 200 years. And it's because of the current state that they're in. And God said that he would not change the condition of people until they change whatever is within themselves. Now, the unfortunate events that are unfolding in Gaza today, in Palestine, it is a very clear indication. The voice is not right. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Can you not hear me, or is there a problem, the voice? Let me see. Is people having problems hearing me? It seems like the audio is going in. So yeah, so it seems like the issue is on people's ends rather than my end, because I can hear myself. Mm, cool. All right, cool. So yeah, the audio is going well. The reason why I'm starting this podcast called The State of the Community is to talk about the state of the Muslim community in the current days or the current time. And I wanted to talk about and touch upon a little bit to do with the situation in Palestine. This stream is not the usual content that I put in regards to the theological discussions and improving certain things about what the Quran is saying based upon what people are preaching. But this is more so that you could see on how the Quran helps you understand the psychology that is behind certain politicians, and for you to deduce on how to have the right reaction and how to read the things correctly from what's happening around you. Now, on October 7th, when Gaza, here now Hamas, attacked the Zionist state, this was already in the plan for many years. This was not something that only Hamas was thinking about and trying to perpetuate. Unfortunately, in this case scenario, Hamas was used as a guinea pig. Hamas did not understand the full picture of what's going on and how they were set up to be in a position that they are in now, currently, up against a very powerful force with very minimal help. And the people who provided them with the resources to do what they did, they're no longer in sight. Yes, there's a support coming from Lebanon, from the side of Hasbara, but there isn't much of an assistance on even political pressure trying to mitigate the situation. It's because this started a long time ago. I'm not talking about the Palestine and Zionist relations, but I'm talking about this specific part of this situation. Now, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, they all have a single core mission or a single core message in the regards to believe in God and the promise of God that there is a better world than this. There is a day of judgment, and there's a better world than the one that we're living in. And you only have two options. You either buy into this world, or you believe in the promise, and you believe in the promise, and then you believe in the promise, you don't buy into the world, and you do your best to please your Lord and to move into the next world. Now, if you listen to a lot of what the politicians say, especially the people in the Middle East, these Arabian leaders, they barely mention God when they're making their speeches. They might say the usual little like things that is out of culture, rather out of their heart, but in their plans and what they would like to achieve, they would usually never ever mention God or put God in the picture. Now, before the Palestinian event occurred, there was something that was happening in Saudi Arabia because of Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince that is supposed to be the upcoming king. If that's what God has allowed to happen, that's what will happen. But he has presented himself in a way where he wants to revolutionize the Gulf area, especially Saudi Arabia. He wants to bring them in par with the rest of what's happening in the world. Now, these politicians, you have to understand their mentality. They're not people where you can think that they care about their people or whatever they're really having a hand on. To them, they are one of the elites in business transactions and business dealings. So just like any other endeavor, the human psychology and the way that the humans work is playing out in the elites. The majority of them has already bought into the world. They're just thinking about their empire and how to keep their business running. And now the more resources you have, the more that you can accomplish, in regards to whatever is under your hand and control. With that said, you have the understanding now that Saudi Arabia is a very rich country. Saudi Arabia has been sitting on a lot of money for a very, very long time. And they were not spending it as they were spending it with the other people. Now, MBS comes along and he made this vision, or he made this plan where he wants to transform Saudi Arabia to make it into, as he would say himself, into the next Europe, or make it the destination of the world. Now, this cannot happen until this was already been brought forth to behind back channels to things like the World Economic Forum, which you see Saudi Arabia very active in now. And they had to throw this ripple out. He had to make this proposal to the people who are in the highest echelons, from people in Russia to people in China to the Zionist state to the people in the West, in regards to what he would like to achieve, so that he could get their blessing, so that he can accomplish what he wants to accomplish without having political pressure and pressure from the people who are either at his caliber or higher than his caliber. It was very clear that when they did meet behind closed doors, everyone put whatever they want on the table in regards to make this business transaction occur. Your mic needs more gain. Let me turn my gain up. Is this better? Let me know in the comments if my microphone is sounding better. And I just want to change a filter real quick to see if this would, there we go. Let me see this. Hopefully this sounds better. Let me know. So yeah, so they've already tossed this idea out. The people have already discussed. They already made their plans on what they would offer and what they want in return. And Saudi Arabia got the go-ahead. And 5 years ago, and I want to show you now. And yeah, so 5 years ago, MBS made a public announcement. And remember, they cannot make these public announcements until they've already had things in the motion with their business partners. Remember, some of them are enemies. Some of them are the staunchest enemies, but they have to be professional. And that is the role of a politician, is that even if you're my dirtiest enemy, I would still have to have the decency to put you on my table or go to your table and discuss on how we can still work certain things out or how to work together. But because they're enemy, their whole concept or the whole mission for them is to backstab each other, but do it in a way where I can politically clear my name. This is all the signaling and the talking and the media and everything that happens. Now, as Putin once said, which is a very true thing, there is no point into trying to play with the propaganda, because the West has that in their pocket. The Zionist state and the Jewish media has that in their pocket. I'm not scared to say it. So there is no point of trying to point yourself out in the media to the general public. Now, because these people are businessmen, because these people are focused on resources, they have to play a fine line between trying to keep their people, who are their sheep. This is people, and population is another resource. They need to keep them to a level where they're happy but they cannot kind of speak out of line, and at the same time they cannot really abuse them to a point where they would turn on them, because there's just many of them. So they have to always play the line of policy and try to paint themselves out so that they would adhere to the culture, and if they're in a religious country, to the religion. And that's something Saudi Arabia really has to do. So they might be talking about certain things with the religion, they really don't care about it, nor do they believe in it. It's just so that their people go, wow, that's amazing. This is them learning from the Western propaganda. But they cannot propagate, or they cannot spread these messages to the West, because the West has it covered on their end and to the rest of the world. Now I want to show you what MBS brought forth, and then I'm going to show you how this relates to the issue that's going on in Palestine right now.
أنا أعتقد أن أوروبا الجديدة هي الشرق الأوسط.
Notice he's saying this in front of the Emirate guy, so the ruler of Abu Dhabi, right? MBZ, I believe, and he is saying it in front of a whole big delegation of people, saying that the Saudi Arabia or the Gulf states is going to be the next big thing.
المملكة العربية السعودية في الخمس سنوات القادمة سوف تكون مختلفة تماما. البحرين سوف تكون مختلفة تماما. الكويت حتى قطر على خلافنا معهم لديهم اقتصاد قوي سوف تكون مختلفة تماما بعد 5 سنوات. الإمارات، عمان، لبنان، الأردن، مصر، العراق والفرص التي لديها. إذا نجحنا في ال5 سنوات القادمة سوف تلتحق فينا دول أكثر، وسوف تكون النهضة القادمة في العالم في 30 سنة القادمة في الشرق الأوسط إن شاء الله. هذه حرب السعوديين، هذه حربي اللي أخوضها شخصيا، ولا أريد أن أفارق الحياة إلا وأرى الشرق الأوسط في مقدمة مصاف في العالم، وأعتقد أن هذا الهدف سوف يتحقق 100%.
الله يعطيك طول العمر يا سيدي.
Okay, so just generally speaking now, from a religious point of view, this man didn't really invoke God at all. He said inshallah one time, but this is out of habit. It wasn't him actually putting God in the picture, because he said 100% that he's going to achieve this goal. So he's seen the unseen. But he cannot say this until the fact that he already took the blessings from everybody around. He understands that he needs to make relationships with the Zionist state for him to achieve this goal, right? So, so he wanted to present this idea. He's saying that the Gulf states, specifically Saudi Arabia, is going to be completely different. Now, do you know how long ago this presentation was? Well, if people who are watching the news would know, this was about 5 years ago. So he said, within 5 years, you're not going to recognize the the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia anymore. And it's very true. Saudi Arabia now has underwent a revolution in the way it is accepting investments, on the way that it is mitigating religious duties, and on the way that it's opening its front to the tourists in a way that was never seen before in the Gulf area. They're doing it faster than what the Emiratis did. But now they have a plan. And this plan involves the new city that they want to build. So in the 2030 plan, the Vision 2030, which Saudi Arabia has brought forth to the world, and this is what they're trying to achieve, they made it very clear, they made it extremely clear that one of their plans that they want to achieve between now and 2030 is this great city called Neom. And Neom has multiple cities within it. It's in the northwest region. This is important. It's in the northwest region of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And they've already put plans in place, and they've already started construction in these multiple cities that are going to be revolutionary. So I'm going to show you a little bit about the city Neom, and then we're going to discuss on how this pertains to Palestine.
This is Neom, or here, to be more precise, in the northwest of Saudi Arabia. But Neom is more than a place. It's a home for people who dream big. Bigger than that. That's more like it. It'll be a hub for innovation, an entirely new model for sustainable living. The vision for a new future. In fact, that's how it got its name. But what will be there? There's Oxagon, a thriving city at the crossroads of the world.
Remember this image that we're seeing right here, where Neom is going to be the thriving center of the world for trade and commerce. And notice where they're involving the Suez Canal.
Where advanced manufacturing will enable industries of the future. Trojana, a year-round mountain destination. And just remember to pack your skis when you visit. Or if skiing's not your thing, there's always Sindala, one of Neom's many beautiful islands, perfect for some R&R. And the Line, a 500-meter high, 200-meter wide, 170-kilometer long city in the shape of, well, a line. No roads, cars, or emissions. And everything its 9 million residents could ever need within a 5-minute walk. The best of...
So you see, this is enough of the preview of what Neom and the cities that are within it going to bring forth. Notice how, again, very mention of God. They're talking as if it's going to happen no matter what. They've seen the future. They're looking forward to this little part of heaven that they're going to build. But I want you to pay attention onto where they want to put Neom, which they put in the beginning. It's in the northwest of Saudi Arabia. It's very close to the Sinai Peninsula of Egypt, and it's right to the border of where the Zionist state is, because they want to make it a hub for tourists coming from Europe. And that's going to be also a hub of people coming from, if Tel Aviv was going fine, it's also going to be a part for the Zionist people to come and have fun in this tourist / political / business and commerce capital that they want to build. Now, this is why one of the main reasons that the war in Palestine occurred. There is something that you need to keep in mind. MBS is about business. I've went on a podcast with Mario Noafal, who makes the biggest Twitter spaces, back in October 28th. October 7th, the war started. Within a few weeks, I moved myself to Lebanon. I sat in Tyre, so that I was in hopes of trying to reach Hasbara so that I would offer certain proposals to them, and at the same time I wanted to also get a grasp of what is kind of happening. So I've discussed this on October 28th in Mario Spaces, the Spaces Mario Nofal does on Twitter, and anyways, so yes, so I discussed them, and he asked me, this is before Hezbollah or Nasrallah made his speech in regards to how Lebanon is going to react, or how Hezbollah is going to react in this war. And he said, is he going to declare war against the Zionist state? I said that in the mind of Hezbollah, because this is after I spoke to them, they're already in a state of war. They've already understood that they're in a state of war, but they cannot escalate because Iran is under certain pressure. And he didn't like what I said. And I said, look, like, it's the people in the Middle East, MBS himself is a businessman. This war is technically bad for business, but it's a necessity for him to achieve his goal. And the only fear that the people, the population, or the rulers in the Middle East have, the only reason why the issues are occurring the biggest fear of the politicians in the Middle East are their own people. Because unfortunately, people read the Quran and they forget what God has really written. And then they want to make these weird prophecies and try to say that God said this. But regardless, because they believe that it's from God and that Jews are going to get destroyed, they really take it as a way or a sign from God that they need to react and act right now. And they're not acting in the correct manner because of what their leaders are doing. And on the other side, the Zionists also have their promises and prophecies, which they take to heart, and they think that this is their God-given right. And it's the same problem on both ends. So the biggest concern on October 28th was the Muslim leaders the Arab leaders trying to put the Muslim population down. That's where all the resources was. The point of the war was to use Hamas as guinea pigs to go into the border. That's why there was no security when they breached the border. They went into a lot of distances without resistance. The resistance showed up where there was also a rave happening. So there are people who are part of the military, but in civilian duty at this time, or just enjoying themselves. Now, all of a sudden, the security forces did show up. Remember, there was a lapse of security, as if they knew they were coming. And now the security forces, when they showed up, it was activated using something called the Hannibal Protocol, which is something that you could look up, where the Zionist regime will make sure that they will take the least amount of hostages possible. And the way that you do that is by killing your own people. So Hamas broke into the border. They're like, okay, wait, where is everybody? Okay, let's drive in. Now let's start resisting and making our point that we've been training by Iran for a very long time. Okay, now the Zionists is showing up, but they're killing themselves. They're just shooting their own people. This is awkward. What are we supposed to do in this situation? They didn't know what they were walking into, but this was all part of the plan. Now, they go back to Gaza with the hostages, and Israel makes their Hasbara, their propaganda, go in at all horses running. The engine was running at 100%, and now we are going to eliminate Hamas. Why? Because quite simply, the plan before this war coming in is Gaza needs to get rid of Hamas. There needs to be a two-state solution where now Palestine is Gaza and the West Bank. The West Bank is going to be under the jurisdiction of Jordan, which it always was. And anyone who wants a passport in the West Bank, they would take a passport from the Jordanian authorities. Now, who would take the responsibility of rebuilding Gaza after this terrible war where we have expelled Hamas, and now we have these brand new investments of who cares of who died, but now we have these opportunities to rebuild this area and also make it part of this expedition that is going to lead to Neom. Who's going to be responsible for that? The Gulf states, primarily Saudi. That's why they're pushing for this two-state solution for normalization, because this is what they agreed behind doors. So they got what they wanted. The war started. They would have given, by the politics, Palestine the right to even issue passports, because the Palestinians are not going to take Saudi passports, because it will make the Saudi passport a little less worth. And at the same time, the people in Levant are not allowed to have strong passports, but a different discussion at this point. And Egypt is not somebody that they could trust. The reason why Egypt is somebody they cannot trust and they will not give Gaza to Egypt is because the Egyptian government and the Egyptian military they are a dog who is loyal to whoever is feeding them more. You understand that? So when the Saudis are trying to make relationships with Egypt, okay, because they give them money, they give them the money for investments, and then all of a sudden Russia will come give them a little bit more money, and now they're loyal to Russia, and they've stolen the money of Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia didn't get what they want. And all of a sudden now the Zionists realize that there's some opportunity in Egypt, so what do? They give more money than what the Russian was giving, and then the guy goes, okay, well now we're loyal to the Egyptians. And at this point of time, or this time, like, the Egyptians will be loyal to the Zionists. In this current state, by what God has showed me, it is very clear that Zionists are paying the Egyptians a lot of money to be on their side, because what the Zionists did during the war, which was supposed to eliminate Hamas, allow Saudi Arabia to establish the two-state solution, and that way it gives them enough coverage to tell the general population, we freed Gaza, so now it's time for peace. Let the business happen. Let us be businessmen and let us take care of our empires, and you guys can shut up because there's peace in Palestine. But the Jews that went to Europe and messed around with European blood, the Caucasian blood, they wanted to out-Jew the original Jews that were in Arabia, that stayed in Arabia. And as God has presented the idea of who the Jews were in the Quran, these people are very, very well in tuned on and very understanding on how the Zionists would think. Why? Because they think like them and even more. So they tried to backstab the Saudis. That was the very simple thing. They were like, you know what? Yeah, behind closed doors, with the pressure that we have from America, we did agree to a two-state solution. The war started, the devastation happened, we've ruined our image, but we're going to keep Gaza. We're going to keep that resource. And that new canal that you guys want to build, that's ours. And the gold that we discovered in Gaza, that's ours. And the oil that we discovered in Gaza, that's ours. So now everybody's like, hey, hold a minute. This is about business. This is not about you and what you want to have, Mr. Zionist state. So you started seeing, like, even Britain saying like, hey, it's time for a two-state solution in Saudi or in Palestine. And now America's even like, okay, so America's obviously very bought into the Zionist state. A lot of people they bought themselves. So most of the politicians are lobbied by the Zionists, and at the same time, they have loyalty back to the Zionist land and to America. But there's other politicians where it's difficult for them to fight that type of politicians where they're just loyal to America. They just want what America is best for America, and they could see that they are being used to a level where they haven't been used before. The general idea of what they would like to achieve is, and this is the general feeling, again, by what God has revealed to me, is that they rather work with the Gulf states, states like the Emirates and states like Saudi Arabia, because they are easy to deal with. They don't really, they are, it's not that they're content with what they have, but they really are about the money. To them, there is no religious basis to what they do. They like to show their religion as something that is classy and luxurious, and they're fine with that. But they're not trying to achieve religious prophecies like the Zionists are doing. So technically, America wants to work with Saudi Arabia and the Gulf more. So now you're seeing this weird kind of pressure where America is slowly turning on Israel, but there's these inner feuds. And this cannot be achieved until America goes through a civil war, which is what they're setting up with. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is America is fed up. The Zionists betrayed the Saudis, and the Muslims, and the Muslims are very not tuned into this. Now, you as a Muslim, you don't need to get involved in all this politics, but you need to understand that these are the people who are running you. These are the mentality of the psychology of the people that are running you. Now, how are they dealing with the force that can fix all these problems? The force of what Islam was in the beginning. Now, you have to understand the worst thing for Saudi Arabia, for the Zionist state, for the American state, for the Russian state, and for the Chinese, but the Chinese are easier to deal with, is a unified Middle East. Unified not under nationalism, which is something that their propaganda is always preaching in the Middle East. So you could see the pictures of your you see the pictures of your rulers in all the countries and publications all about nationalism and your flag, and everybody's extremely racist on the point of nationalism. This is something that the West engineered. Okay, now what did cause the Muslim empire to fall? If you think it was external pressures, it had some part of it. Yes, you could claim that colonization and the Western pressure and Jewish pressure is what caused Islam to fail, the Islam caliphate. It's not true. God says that the hypocrites are in a lower level than the disbeliever. Me knowing my enemy, that's something that's very easy. That guy is my enemy. He's trying to plan against me. I'll try to offer peace, but most likely they're not going to give me peace, but I will do what God has commanded for me to do in the Quran and not fear them. But if my enemy looks like me, he's talking like me, and he's acting like me, even though he's not convincing me, this would be terrible for the people who are sitting next to me, who are not aware, who do not have the mentality that I have, or they don't see what I see in regards to who's the hypocrite. The reason why the Middle East is in the condition that it's in, and why there is no caliphate, is because of a simple fact. You guys stopped fighting. You guys stopped fighting wars of attrition and wars of aggression. Yes, this is so not right to say nowadays because of the propaganda that was put on you. Don't you understand? God told you to not fear anybody except God. This is the truth. People in the West are labeled as heroes if they fight for their country. You are a hero if you fight for your religion, because fighting for your religion is fighting for your people, and in return is fighting for your country. But God never told you to put your nationality or your people or your flag as something number one. But this is what you've been programmed to do. Now, how are we keeping these Muslims disconnected? This is a very simple Jewish mentality. This is something that Hitler used to talk about constantly. I'm not saying that what Hitler did was right. No, Hitler understood the issue, but he dealt with it in a way that is very brutal and is very wrong. Now I understand that Zionists and Jews want to cry all the time, oh, well, Hitler, you can't talk about Hitler and you can't bring Hitler up. But you got to understand, Hitler was fed up of the elites of the Jewish people. Judaism is not a race, it's a religion. The race is Israeli. The elites of them, they were very, very evil, genocidal, crazy. They used to use tactics like terrorism. They still do. Terrorism, genocide. They use tactics with lying, subversions, manipulation, stealing, all sorts of disgusting stuff. The people below them, the general public, they understood that this is what's going on, but they didn't say anything because they didn't want to be part of it. Just like how many people right now in the Muslim regions, they understand what's going on in Gaza is terrible, and they understand that these Arab leaders need to do something, but they don't say anything. Why? Because we're not involved. But so many Hitlers came in history. It wasn't just this latest Hitler that came and incredibly slaughtered these Jews. Why? It's because every time the Jews get comfortable, they start to act the same way they're acting in Gaza. This is something that is very clear in our book. They are the staunchest enemy to the believers. It's not because they're saying your God is better than God or our God is better than yours. It's because they put their position, when they're saying they're God's chosen people, they put themselves as the position of God. Yet they think they're stronger than God. We tell what God needs to do. We don't do what God tells us to do. It's the other way around. So, for example, it's very simple. God, his hands are tied up. He can't do anything to us. We tell God what to do. God, the oil companies, as Biden said, the oil companies are richer than God. God is poor and we are rich. Or you know what? You don't tell us when the Messiah comes and you don't tell us who the Messiah is. We will produce the Messiah. God told them about a red cow. He didn't say that to them. God made it very clear and he cleared it up for them so that they can maybe try going back to the word of God, that the cow is yellow because they could not produce a red cow in the Middle East. They went to the West and followed what the devil said and started to genetically modify bovine to produce a red cow with nothing in it. And they spent all this money and they want to take it to the Zionist state to cut it to fulfill whatever crazy prophecy they have. And they just can't do it. It's all going to be lies and show. And this is something that's very evident because the cow is supposed to be yellow. They don't care about that. They tell God what to do. Now, you could say that I'm an anti-Semite, label me whatever you want. No, I'm telling you the truth about this specific mentality. Those people who are atheists yet still think they're God's chosen people and they're better than everybody. People are talking about supremacy. They are the ones who really think they are supreme. But the promise never came down on the Jews. The promise came on the children of Israel, not about supremacy, that they are favored in understanding who God is and to guide people to God. That is the favor of the children of Israel. Now, you might keep thinking, oh no, you're a Semite. I am definitely a Semite. You know, it is very difficult to deal with people who are so extremely arrogant that they're using the same tactics as a devil, where the words is whatever they want it to be. Anti-Semite is, this is what it means on today, right? But no, I'm a Semite and I'm not anti-Semite. I'm an anti-Zionist. This is not by my own will. This is not by my own command. This is by what God has said and revealed to you. It is very clear in your books as a person who follows the Jewish religion. I mean, you saying that you are not allowed to have a state until the Messiah shows up. The Messiah didn't show up. So Zionism, which is all about the Jews having their own state, is illegal, not by my own definition, by your own definition. So yes, I have to be, as someone who believes in your books, I'm 100% anti-Zionist. Now, who can be a Zionist in this day and age? Well, technically it would be the Christian, because they believe that the Messiah came. But they don't care for their own state. They don't want to build their own state because they've also lost the track. So God has made it very clear in the Quran on who's the Messiah and how the land should be ran. So the people who took this land are the people who are adhering to the rules of God, which is the Muslims. And for 1,000 years, Jews and Christians and Muslims lived side by side in Palestine without any issues. We kept you in check. We kept the Jews in check. I'll say it very clearly. Why? They want to go into the fields of prostitution. To us, this is a big no-no because the verses are clear. We're not going to play around with the verses. They wanted to play with interest. This is stuff that we don't accept because the verses are clear. We're not going to support you in interest. They wanted to spread their propaganda and their lies. Well, you can't lie to somebody who truly believes in God. So we kept you subverted to what the Quran was saying, and you were nice, quiet, and happy. We got along. You went to Europe, got your money, came back to the land, and saying that now this is your land and you're going to cause chaos. Keep causing your chaos, because God has every time when you guys kill messengers, when you guys killed prophets, and Pharaoh showed up, and Pharaoh whipped the ground with you until it was not fair anymore. Then God has given you another chance. You went to Europe, you subverted the people, you caused a world war, you talked about taking over banking systems, the media system, all sorts of things just to keep the people dead, hungry, and in debt to you, slaved to you. God allowed Hitler to show up. You got annihilated. You got hurt until God's grace and mercy came back to you again. But then what happened? You started doing the exact same things that you've done almost century after century after century after century. What do you think the next step is, Mr. Jew? Another Hitler. This is how usually it goes. You guys are always going to be put down because this is the promise of God. You think you're going to have the world by the balls, that you have it, that you're going to grab it, and then God's plan comes and you are the one who's humiliated. Again, I'm not saying that Hitler did right or did wrong. Hitler just had enough of you, just like how a lot of people are having enough of you now from your own tribes as well. There's no need to genocide a bunch of Jews, but it's time for us to resist you and your lies and your Hasbara. So let's go. Let's see. Understand how the Jews would like to, define what anti-Semitism is. Because you are crazy when you're trying to define anti-Semitism. This is one of the rabbis who, of course, wants to talk to Candace Owens and call her an anti-Semite when she didn't say anything wrong. She simply, by his own will, he wanted to define what anti-Semitism is. Well, let's listen to him.
You know what? I was wrong, and write an article. I apologize, and I was wrong. But the first piece is to have a mutual understanding of what is anti-Semitism. I think that would help a tremendous amount.
I actually totally agree with you on that. That is a perfect place to start. Could you provide for us a definition of anti-Semitism?
Absolutely. I really appreciate that, because I think that is the break. If we're not speaking the same language, where can we go, right? So there's a man, a blessed memory, man named Lord Jonathan Sachs. He was the chief rabbi of England. He had a great line. He really defined anti-Semitism, that anti-Semitism is Jews have no right to exist collectively as Jews with the same rights as other human beings. It's kind of a weird statement. So this
is not true. Because anytime a community comes together, they're going to stay as a community, despite if it's not their land and if it's not their theocracy. The point of Zionism originally was to set up a Jewish land that is run by theocracy, technically by the laws of God. Of course, they didn't do that because they out-Jew everybody all the time, even their own Lord. But they can't out-Jew their Lord. So what ended up happening is that if they go to, let's say, America, they're going to have a Jewish community where they're going to live together. Nobody's saying you can't do that. This is what was in Syria. We had neighborhoods where the Jews were. This is what happened in Lebanon. We had neighborhoods and areas and communities where the Jews were. And that's how it was in Palestine. And that's how it was in Iraq and Jordan and Egypt and Saudi and all the other places where the Jews resided. They had their own communities. Nobody's saying you can't do that. But what we're saying to you is you cannot poison the mind of our people and subvert them to your stupid mentality that you are God's chosen people. And the way that you do that is by forcing sexual preference, sexual deviancy to them, and at the same time trying to control them with ways what you know is wrong. So for them, they understand that you either worship God or you worship the devil. And if you're worshiping the devil, then you're under the control of the devil. Well, me, myself, I'm not going to drink. But if I make somebody drink, that guy is no longer in the grace of God and he needs a devil to control him. So I'll stay loyal to God and I won't drink, but I will control these devils that I'm creating. This is their whole mentality. This is how they keep people away from the grace of God so that they could stay in power. This was the Zionist regime day in, day out from the time of Jesus. They are the ones who dictate God's law, and whatever they understand from God's law, they don't apply it to anybody else. In fact, they push the other people to go against the law of God so that they could keep them in control, keep them in debt to them, and keep the money flowing back to their pockets. Pornhub, ran by a rabbi. OnlyFans, also started by from the Jewish community. All the Western media, from Hollywood to music, which is very degenerate, all ran by Jewish people who are involved in their religion some way, somehow. I'm not saying they're religiously or overly religious, but they have to show loyalty to the hat that they wear. Okay, this is their mentality. This is what something that is very aware from the time of Jesus to the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them both, till today. But they're very good at playing the word game, because that's what the devil does. The devil decorates his words and his deeds as, oh, I'm the victim. I'm the one who's losing. And now people who are claiming to be Muslim are buying into their lies again. So at this point, God's order is very simple. God's command will come and these people will be punished. So let me see, what is anti-Semitism? If he said that it's about people not allowing Jews to have a community. You can have a community. You, by your own book, you're not allowed to have a state. So you're not having a state, because I'm a person who believes in God. So I don't care. It's very simple. That's what God said to you, and this is what I believe in. It's the people of God who will have a theocracy in the Palestinian region, in the blessed region, and we are the people of God. You clearly are not. You're the people of Pornhub.
Track back a bit to understand the history of anti-Semitism. 2,000 years ago, Jews don't accept Jesus as Messiah. For people who do not have faith, as the early Christians, as some of them have faith, some of them accept Jesus, but they don't really in their heart. And you and I both know people like Rob McCoy who accepts it fully in their heart, and other people who are doing it without faith. And they're those who have less faith. The fact that a Jew exists, let alone thrives, is a threat to them.
The Jews that are actually existing and thriving are the ones that are adhering to the code of God, whatever they have in their books. The ones that are adhering to what God has told them to be good people, friendly to their neighbors, to guide people to God, to remind people of God, to give their money, to establish their families on the fear of God, and to keep up with whatever God has put for them as traditions, let's say. Those people, nobody ever had a problem with. And yet they usually find success in the land very quickly because of the favor of God upon them. Okay, but those people are the proper Jews. Those people will not have a problem with Palestinians. You know why? Because they would listen to what the Palestinians believe in, whether it's the Christian or Muslim, and say, you know what, that's the God of Abraham. These people we are not allowed to kill because they believe in the God of Israel. These people are not entitled to be genocided. These people are not Amaleks who are polytheists, who used to worship idols, who were dirt on the blessed land. Those people should be removed. So this is where these true Jews would understand this. Nobody ever had a problem with these people because we could understand and relate. But when I'm talking about the general understanding of Jews, what Jews is, just like how God talks about the general mentality of the Jews, and he does mention the good people who are going to heaven, the general mentality of the Jews is they are enemies to believers. Just like how polytheists are enemy to the believers. A good way for you to understand what a Jew is you ask them, you ready to see God? You wish for death? They won't wish for death because they're so bought into this world, and I am God's chosen people, and I am more better than everybody else, and this is the mentality that I grew up in, and how dare you talk to me? I'm going to take you by what it hurts. I'm going to make you lose hope. I'm going to make your children go astray. I'm going to kill your children. I'm going to take your money because this is what matters. This is what makes a man a man. It's not about his religion. It's not about his view on God. It's his money and his children. And if I remove that from you, then I'm better than you. That's what the Jew is. This is what they've been building, and this is why they love this world so much.
Their faith, because how can the Jew not accept Jesus as God and still thrive? Unless he's associated with the devil. So you start having these myths that are created of the Jew being identified with the opposite of God. This
is not a myth. You guys have always around the clock defied what God has told you to do. And whoever defies what God has told him to do is a devil. God sent you Messiah. Nah, he's not my Messiah. I'm going to build my own. If someone's doing that, that's a devil. Okay. Oh, well, porn and sexual deviancy is not something that you should be doing. And homosexuality is definitely no. You shouldn't be publicizing that, nor are you causing that propaganda. Yeah, it's wrong, but we're going to do it anyways. That's literally what a devil is. Oh, you can't have a homeland until you accept the Messiah came or that the Messiah comes. Yeah, okay, but we're going to take a homeland. This is literally what a devil is. Hey, interest is definitely bad. Do not deal with interest. Oh, okay, yeah, interest is bad, but I'm going to be the one running the interest. I'm going to make sure that every nation in the world has the form of interest in their money so that I can keep them in debt for me forever, because I'm just going to keep building forever. So who's associating who to the devil other than you associating yourself to the devil? Because you're acting like a devil. Again, this is your elite of you. This is the top level honchos that I have to deal with from time to time because of what you guys bring forth to the table. But unfortunately for you, the Quran and God and the truth always decimates you. And it gets to a point where God allows you to go as far as he would allow you to go. And when you're just about to pluck the tree of the garden that you built, a Hitler comes along, a Pharaoh comes along. I wonder who's going to be coming along next soon for you, because it might not be in the Middle East, but in the West, you made a lot of enemies. And a lot of people are having enough of your bullshit supremacy, which doesn't make sense. You are running the media. You are running the banks. You are running the government. They have enough of it. To them, they grew up understanding it's about the free choice. It's about the freedom of speech. I get to say whatever I want, and I could put my balls on this table, and none of you can say no to me. This is how the West has always thought. Cowboys, dick to the wall, and this is what they're going to do. And I apologize for the language. But they don't see that. They don't see that they're causing this ripple in the Western side, where they are majority atheist, or they have a form of Christianity where it's Jesus is king and that's as far as where the religion goes. It's not very hard for them to put into a system where you get genocided again. Simple. In the Middle East, we deal with you differently. We have the book of God, and God is dealing with you because we could see who you are. You are going to hell. The majority of you are going to hell. In the Zionist state, the majority of you are hellbound. So we will just put up with you, just like how you put up with Pharaoh, until the decree of God comes, and then we get to build again. But this is just temporary for us. We understand this concept. This is just a plane ride to our destination. Our destination is God. We're not going to get comfortable in the plane ride. And the people among us who are getting comfortable, those are the hypocrites. Those are the people, hey guys, don't fight because I might lose my chair on the seat. I might have to sit somewhere else, or you might destroy my seat, or you might destroy this little thing that I built next to me on the seat where I'm going to die at the end. These are the hypocrites among us. So I don't care. I will say the truth. We are sick and fed up of you. And you guys are building your own Hitler in this point, not building a Messiah.
He codifies in 1144 in Norwich, England, what's called the Blood Libel. This is really important to understand, especially today in 2024. In 1144, a young boy is killed, and the local priest says that's because the Jews need to make their matzah with Christian blood. It's called the Blood Libel. It's blame the problems of other people on the Jew. It's just so you know, that's so ridiculous, not only just on its face, but we're forbidden from even having meat that has any blood in it. This is a Torah law. You can't have, that's why, we can't have steak tartare. Okay?
Right, but your restaurants are always serving, the steaks that are rare and medium rare. These are the restaurants in New York. The high-end restaurants that want to serve steak, they're all bloody when they come out. And the more bloody, the better that it tastes to you.
So this gets perpetuated in combination with a 4th century, what's called the Vulgate.
I'm sorry, did you say in 1140 this happened?
1144 in Norwich, England.
Okay, go on.
This is after in the 4th century, you have something called the Vulgate. The Vulgate is the official translation of the Bible. In Hebrew, there's no vowels. And the person who translates, St. Jerome, who translates the Vulgate, knows what he's doing is translating wrong. He puts down that when Moses comes down from Mount Sinai, he has horns. Okay, Karen, when actually the word was Karan, meaning that light shone from his head. So now by 1144, you have the anti-Semitic myth of Jews have horns and they drink blood. And I know people who've been asked when they went into the army and other places, can I see your horns? So this.
I've never heard that. I've never heard of people saying that Jews have horns. Let's see their horns. Like, this conspiracy theory is not something that we grew up with. Nobody heard it. This guy is just living his own fantasy at this point. It's very clear because they just want to define anti-Semitism, as he will say, that is something that's always evolving. Now, you might be thinking, like, what's that got to do with us right now? And why am I presenting this information? It's because you have to understand the force that is being put upon you. They don't deal with the truth. The only way you deal with them is with the truth. The way that you deal with your politicians is with the truth. There's verses in the Quran that needs to be repeated to them, and it's very simple. God said that the devil scares his allies. So it seems like you guys are trying to scare us. God told me not to be scared of you and to be scared of God. Are you a devil trying to scare me with your words? Are you intimidating me with your labels and your lies and your manipulations? Are you telling me to follow what you're saying instead of what God has brought forth to me? All of these are anti-God. All of these will take me away from my God's mercy, the relationship with God. I would be somebody who betrayed my Lord if I listened to you. And God says that if you listen to them, they will take you away from the way of God. Listen, this man never mentioned God, like barely mentioned God. It's all about Judaism, Jews and Jews and Jews and Jews. He even insulted Moses without realizing it. But they don't mention God. And God is telling you, and again, that those that don't mention God or talk about God, and all they want is the worldly life, then just let them be. Like, don't interact with them. Let them go. But if they're fighting you in religion, then you have to fight. And this is what these people do. They're fighting you on an intellectual level and now on a military level. Intellectually, you never fought back because you've accepted that the children of Israel are all Jews. No, Christians are the children of Israel. Muslims are children of Israel. Children of Israel is the son of a child of Israel. So many Palestinians are the children of Israel, and here are the children of Israel kicking the children of Israel out of their homes. Yet you're quiet because you want to associate based on their propaganda on what a child of Israel is, that it's only a Jew. God clearly calls the Christians who he's complaining about children of Israel. And these children of Israel who accepted Jesus' message, they beat these losers. They beat these Pharisees that wanted to kill Jesus. At the end, they won to a point where the Romans became Christians, and they also took over their what they're claiming as their land, and until they ran into the ground, until God brought another message, and then we took it over. And we kept it in check for 1,000 years, until all of a sudden, some guy said, no, you know what? This is my daddy's land. I'm going to take it. Well, you were in Europe for the last 400 years. What the hell are you doing here and again? But anyways, now, their propaganda is something that you need to see. And this propaganda, you can see it in our own leaders. They try to force it in a way where it's trying to normalize the ideas of who the enemy is. We don't have enemies. It's all about peace, because war is not good for business unless if my business is war. But if I'm going to make my business in war, I want it in Sudan, I want it in Mauritania, in middle of Africa, maybe somewhere in Asia, but not on my homeland, because that's bad for my business. I'd have to rebuild the stuff that I already built. I don't want to do that. I want to cause proxy wars. I learned from the West. The West will not fight Russia face to face. They're going to have a proxy war because I don't want my stuff broken. Cool. So this is what they're doing now. October 7th, when the war started, Mr. Elon Musk, he was the forerunner about free speech and how it's important for people to discuss their ideas. He bought the Twitter platform, and he went as far, as opening up the source code of Twitter so that people would analyze on how Twitter works. Now, I'm a programmer. I've been a programmer for a very long time. That was my business until I retired. He did show the code. I could understand what the code is saying. I've dealt with systems similar to that, and I understand how the system works. And I even wrote him a message on the platform where they released the code. I said, look, you've released the code, but there's something that's very important. There is a system where it measures on what to promote, what to demote, what to hide, what to shadow ban, what to mark as spam, hateful, and all. This system is running by something called an artificial intelligence model. These models are trained on a specific data. So the data says that, hey, the word Jew, hate content, Jew, and a bad word, hate content. Okay, so this is how we're marking it, and it has its categories, and it runs through this algorithm, and then it spits out the result, and that's how the algorithm technically works. They didn't provide the training data for obvious reasons, because then you could really see what they're censoring and what they're not censoring. October 7th happened, the Palestinian content was not censored. Every time Hamas dropped a video by the permission of God, them always mentioning God and saying how we are having victory because of God, and repeating the God's verses and believing the promise of God and standing proper resistance, within 5 or 10 minutes when it gets posted, it's on my Twitter feed. I could see the fights between, because yes, the way the algorithm works is it sees the contents that you're clicking on often, where you're commenting and what you're doing, and it will promote that kind of content for you, right? Me on Twitter, and this is something that you have to keep in mind, I don't follow anybody. I don't have any followers. So my timeline is completely generated by the algorithm. It does not need to prioritize the people that I'm following and giving me their content. If I started to follow a bunch of pro-Palestinian voices, their content will always show up on my timeline, right? But because I don't follow anybody, I'm completely in the hands of the algorithm. SubhanAllah, by October 7th, my timeline, October 8th, my timeline was filled with all the Palestinian content, all up until Mr. Coward, Elon Musk, went to the Zionist state after he said that he will help Gaza and he would give in Gaza, he would give Starlink for the internet. So he gets invited to the Zionist land. He spends his time in the Zionist land. Netanyahu, the devil, he goes around, shows him all his lies and whatnot. Now, Elon Musk comes back to the States. Within 2 weeks, this is how long it takes to update the system, not upgrade the system, but update the system, something at the size of Twitter, because you need to now retrain your data, your models, you need to test them, you need to dry run them for a bit, and then you need to put them live. Within 2 to 3 weeks after him coming from the Zionist state and him being blackmailed or whatever he was, that coward, I no longer get Palestinian content the way that I did before. Sorry. Yeah, so I no longer get Palestinian data the way that I did before. No information, very minimal information. It's only if it's extremely trending, it would show up. Nothing from Hamas's videos. I had to revert and resort to using Telegram to see that content. So he clearly demoted, censored, and muffled the Palestinian voices. And there was many reports of people with many big channels that they're losing followers and they're losing people because he literally went into the propaganda of what the Zionist state wants him to do. They either blackmailed him, promised him, and the devil promises and never goes through. They did something to him. And he became a coward and he turned on his heels like the devil does. Now, the reason why I'm saying this, well, what did he replace the content of my timeline was on Twitter. So I'm just going to quickly pull up Twitter so that for you to see on how they deal with the Muslims. This is by Jewish standards, by the way. This is by the Zionist and Jewish plans. Now, this is how my Twitter looks like. Hadith collections of Abu Hanifa and Malik are shockingly not weird. They are simply and solid, okay? Okay, bro has the most wild convert story. Cool. As someone who lived in Saudi my whole life, then moved to US for my studies, I agree with you. What is it? Living in Saudi these past 8 months, I'm realizing just how Western Muslims have made ourselves the absolute center. Daniel Hakikachu, everything is like Muslim versus Muslim, and these weird like viral posts. But they start to promote this topics about Shia versus Sunni constantly. I constantly keep seeing the Sunni versus Shia stuff. Notice we still haven't seen much about Palestine. There's not much about Palestine. Okay, Pakistani, whatever. Punjabi women still wore kurta's wife. Punjabi women feel ashamed. It's always about, oh yeah, look, let's talk about pedophilia because that's what we're going to promote right now. This is what my timeline turned up into. Fringe scholars, not saying Ghazali, but just fringe ideas of what they say, and they pass it over so that people would get upset. Oh, let's talk about niqab. Let's talk about Sunni and Shia, 1400-year-old like political problem that we're still going to keep going up. For 1300 years, you could not solve your political issue and who you're going to follow. They're both dead. All three of them are dead. Muawiyah, Abu Bakr, and Ali are dead. Move on. It's over. Why don't you be brothers? Oh, well, we can't because you are constantly bombarded with, hey, like, look at this stupid Zionist making an account as if he's Shia and making fun of Aisha. For the Sunni side goes, oh, well, fuck the Sunnis or fuck the Shias. These guys are insulting the wives of the Prophet. No, one man did, not all of them. And all of them, they don't care because they don't know the stuff. They just want to pray to God, pay their dues, and that's it. That's the simplicity of the common man. Okay, but you guys keep feeding into it. This is what Elon Musk gave you. This is what the algorithm is programmed to do, to keep dividing the Muslim community while it keeps uniting the Jewish community. Anybody who is a threat to the Zionist regime, he is quickly demoted, and everybody puts him down. But they seem like they're on solid ground, but they're not, because God said that you think that they're continuous, but they're not. But we have a force against us. We have a huge propaganda machine who's trying to divide you. What do you think the solution in Syria was if Bashar didn't go and massacre his own people? Syria would have been split. Or you would have had a stupid government, like a stupid Iraqi government that does not care for their people. You would have had another Western puppet that is worse than Bashar, that is more stupid than Bashar. I'm not promoting Bashar, but the only way you solve the problem of the Muslim community is for you, the general population, to unite and to ignore what the devil is giving you as hope. You don't care about nationalism. You don't care about your flag. You care about your city and you care about your fellow Muslim. You care about what's going on in Palestine. Call that a region. It's not a country. We're all supposed to be one singular community. You could call that a nation. This is the community of God. This is what the Jews were promised. This is what the Christians were promised. This is what the Muslims are promised. But none of you can actually accomplish it because you don't care for one another. God created the human for you to work together to make your world better by the intellect that God gave you, believing in the hereafter. That's the simple truth. I'm not here to tell you how to pray or how much zakat you have to pay or who's right and who's wrong. I'm telling you the simple way for you to actually beat what's coming. And what's coming is a world war. You have nothing other than that. The Vision 2030 that they're building, this is just the promise that someone gave them that is not going to happen. They don't know the unseen. A war is coming. You want to solve the problems that are coming towards you, unless if God decrees that it's the day of judgment next, you need to unite in heart. You need to just stop thinking about Ali, Omar, Muawiyah, Ibn Abu Bakr, all of these people. They have their reward at God and they have what's coming to them. They've already passed away. They're not in this world anymore. So now you need to understand that the enemy in front of you is the Jew, and the enemy among you is your government. It is nothing else than that. This is why the community is the way it is. They are deluding you for you to buy into this world so that they could go make more money than you do. And they keep you happy by giving you these flags and these phrases and these things that keep getting bombarded on you as a dopamine fix. This is truly what the Western propaganda teaches. That's the simple fact. So the state of the community we're in right now, our leaders are very similar to the Jewish mentality. They are the strictest and the most hurtful against the believers because they are allying with the Jews, and God said whoever allies with the Jews and the Christians, he's among them. He's not a Muslim anymore. I'm not telling you to go revolt. I'm not telling you to go start wars. If that is the case that we need to do, that's what we will do. But the first step is for you to start making peace with your fellow believer, okay? Don't get into the theological discussions that the Jews love to keep bringing up. Most of the stories that you keep talking about on this is what he said and this is what she said was done by the Jews. The Jews are the ones who kept doing this. Why? Because the worst thing the world wants, the worst thing that the people who bought into the world need right now is a unified Muslim religion. We're not fighting for the world. We're fighting for the hereafter. So we have limits that they can't reach. We have a mentality and a will they cannot beat. They cannot look into our eyes. If somebody's coming to you and he's looking at you like, you know what? I'll put it all on the line right now. I don't care if you're double my size. There's so many generations of me. You can't stop me. And on the other thing is God is with the believer. You cannot touch me without me going at you with everything that I have, because not only that I'm willing to lose my kid, my wife, my parents at this very second, I'm happy to do it because that means God is going to reward me and them for the pain that you caused, okay? So it's very simple to sit there and blame like, oh, you know what? God is the one who sent Hitler against us and God doesn't like us. No. You said you believe in God, you showed no patience, and when people tested you, you made the punishment of people the punishment of God. I'm not saying that God is punishing me through your hands. God is punishing you by allowing you to hurt me because I'm a believer of God. And God has already always rescued the believer. That is a promise from God. Death to me is a rescue. So if the Muslims are not willing to put stupid things behind them, things that don't matter, and move forward as brothers and sisters, then it's game over. Then there's no point to talk to you anymore. This is why I don't produce as much content, because I realized this is a live, by the way, brother. I realized how much you guys just care about being right. And everybody wants to be right, but nobody wants to do much. Writing on Twitter about Palestine is nice. They can turn it off at any point. They can demote you as Elon Musk did. And if you're still using Twitter, like, you're wasting your time, because all you're going to get is content to make you hate other fellow Muslims and then make fun of certain things about the West. And on the other side, they're just uniting people because you don't get that side of the algorithm. So at what time are you going to step back and you be like, you know what, on the day of judgment, I'm going to be responsible for everything that I'm doing, and I'm losing. Why am I losing? God gives victory to whom he wants. God is the truth. God does not give the victory to people who are not worth the victory. Okay, so God told me the steps for me to get the victory, even if I'm smaller than the guy in front of me. If there's more of them and less than me, it doesn't matter. God will give me the victory as long as my heart and my mind is straight. It's not about how you pray or how much zakat you give. Those you need to do. It's not about which hat you wear or where you're facing, or none of that matters. If your fellow man is dying and your heart is so cold and it's so, like, if you cannot shed a tear when you're seeing what you're seeing, qasat qulubakum, your heart has been hardened. The time has been so long at you. It's been 1400 years to you. I don't feel like the promise of God is coming anymore. It's because you stopped working, and God's promise is coming. But you guys are in trouble. You guys have been losing. You guys have been lying. You guys have been fighting about everything except the enemy. The enemy is among you. You won't even fight him. You will not stand up against your enemy because you're scared. They've killed your families. They've killed you. They keep bombing you in this. Because when it's time to stand up, if there's 100 people in my country that are willing to if there's 100 people in my country that realize my country is fucked at this point, astaghfirullah, 10 people will stand up. And then the government will bring 20 people. And those 20 people will eradicate those 10 people in a very vicious manner. And the 90 other people who are ready to stand up, who have what it takes to stand up, they're just sitting and watching. But then you're like the Jews during the Holocaust. You knew what your upper echelons were doing. You knew you were subverting nations. You knew you were bankrupting nations. You know you were causing famines and destructions and war. And you kept quiet. You didn't tell your own people to stop. So the punishment fell upon you. Not everybody during the time of Pharaoh were abusing the children of Israel. It was the elites. But the other people, they didn't care to make a difference. So they went with them. Al-Hawiyah, in the garbage, in the dirt, death, destruction. That's it. So are you guys ready to actually become brothers? To care for one another? To not care that you're going to lose this world at any second? Because that's the truth. You can talk about hadith. There's hadiths against you. This is what I don't understand. You guys keep bringing up certain hadith about prophecy. All the prophecies are against you. You guys are going to be weak. You guys are going to love the worldly life. You guys not going to fight. You guys are just, and this is what the only things you're doing. You're fulfilling it. Well, why don't you be a believer instead? Now, I want to wrap up for you to understand your enemy, okay? Your enemy is very weak. He's very stupid. There's this stupid Shmuley, whatever guy is. He posted something about what a guy said during the Holocaust. And this is what the guy wrote after losing 11 children and losing his hope and all this nonsense. He currently said some stupid stuff where this idiot wants to repeat. And let's just hear him.
He said, God, from the time I was a child, I was given payas, I was taught to Shema, and I was taught to believe in you as God. Now, for the past 2 years in the ghetto, you have done everything in your power to prove to me that you do not exist. To make me into an atheist. Or that even if you don't exist, that you're cruel, that you're wicked, that you're unloving, that you're vengeful. But I want you to know that I will die the way I was born, a believing Jew. That there is no power in the universe, including you, God, creator of heaven and earth, he who fills the infinite expanse of space I, as a Jew, am stronger than you. My name is Israel. He who wrestles with God and is victorious. I will die with my faith intact.
Shut the fuck up. You and whoever wrote that. Very simple. I'm sorry I have to swear again, but he can just simply shut the fuck up. How are you going to be stronger than God? God is not pushing you to atheism. God is not pushing you to cruel. But this is the mentality that they have, and this is how they view their God, where they are being annihilated. They are being annihilated by a criminal like Hitler. And this is what the shit they write. Instead of turning to God and realize, you know what? I was the bad people. We were the bad people. God is not helping us because we do not deserve the help. God is the truth. He's just, he is fair. This is what we are taught about God. We're getting this because we were not just, because we were not fair. We were causing a lot of pain. We were causing a lot of harm. And now he wants to say he's stronger than God. This is the Zionist mentality. This is what they want you to understand. They tell God what to do. They are the gods, not you. You serve them. You don't serve God. You don't have any say in it. We have the money, we have the kids. And now he wants to say that he's stronger than God. May God damn him. May God damn him and his daughter and all the stupid sex stuff that they want to sell. Of course, if he repents and he apologizes, my God is very forgiving, and he's the one who accepts repentance. I'm not saying that until he corrects himself, this man is my enemy, because I would slap him and he would run away. I would look at him in my stare and make him turn around and run away. So how is he stronger than God if I am extremely scared of God? Because God can cause cancer at any second for what I say out of place. God can eliminate me and everybody in the world and the Zionist state and the Western state with one piece of rock falling from the sky. Because if this is what he wants to do, he does. If there's zero khair, there's no more good coming from the world, God will not leave it in the condition that it's in. He's not going to allow people to keep oppressing themselves if there's no good coming out. There's no good in this person. This person has already crossed the line into hell and deep into hell. He's repeating words of kufr, that he's an atheist and that he's challenging his God, and his mentality is completely gone. These are the people who keep putting you together as enemies. Oh, brother, Muslim, I don't care, Sunni, Shia, whatever you want to call yourself. Do you believe in God? Yes. Do you believe in the day of judgment? Yes. Do you want this world or do you want the hereafter? Hereafter. Fight with everything you have. You don't have money. You don't have resources. You have yourself. Fight. Fight with whatever you have. If you're online, fight. They cannot shut you all up. But if you're all going to be quiet, and that's it. I find myself, when the guards are being oppressive in the Middle East, I find myself as the only one confronting them. Yet on my side, there's hundreds of Muslims next to me. And on the guard side, there's only 3 or 4 guards. Yet I'm the only one confronting them because the rest of the people are scared of them. It is the devil that scares you. So why be scared of him? His plan is weak. Are you ready? Well, that's the state of our community that we're in right now. And I'm gonna keep posting more information like this so that you could understand your enemy, and maybe you stop trying to be like the West wants to teach you. These are the skills you have to have for you to succeed in the world. I haven't had a job in a very long time. I'm doing fine. I'm eating and I'm sleeping and I'm traveling the world. I would like to thank my parents and my family for assisting me when I need assistance, but God has blessed me with money in ways that I have absolutely no way for me to even account, because I keep trying to push in his way and trying to keep pushing in his way, offline and online. God has always rescued me. This is you truly believing in the promise of God. I will say it how it is. The Jew is your enemy. The Jew doesn't like you. But don't consider every Jew your enemy, because you have to investigate. If he's saying blasphemous shit against God, he's clearly an enemy. Now here's for you to understand something. If you watch the video of a Hindu praying to his idol, this rock idol that he grew up with as a child, and he used to worship it, put food around it, sit there and caress it and love this thing and sleep next to his little rock, saying this is his avatar of God. it represents as God. If someone came around and he took this rock and smashed it into pieces, and then you see a clip of the Hindu guy sitting there crying, you know, and they make it so emotional, would you feel sorry for him? If you did, then you failed. You really did fail. They've got you so sensitive to the point where you are feeling bad when the devil is losing. You're feeling bad when the devil is dying. You're going to be the person that when Iblis gives his sob story on the day of judgment, you're going to feel sorry for him. You don't understand all the crime that this person has done for him worshiping that rock to the people around him. You do not understand the crime that all these Jews have done to the people around them because they give you the sob story of the Holocaust. The Holocaust didn't happen because they were good people. The Holocaust happened because they were being terrible people. That's the simple truth. Assalamu alaikum.